Good evening, everybody. This is Robin with another edition of Horror Pop After Midnight. And my guest is director, writer, William J. Stribling, who did this fun sci-fi action short film, The Speed of Time. How's it going?
Going really great. Thanks for having me on.
I loved it. It was so cheesy fun. It reminded me of Back to the Future / Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
That's a great way to pitch it, actually. Back to the Future is definitely a big influence. We even, I had our composer do a very Huey Lewis style song to play at the end of the movie, and Back to the Future is one of my favorite films. So I'm glad that homage comes through.
Yeah, and I love the film score because it really brings to life of the characters in the film. Whoever you had doing the film score, it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, that's a composer named Dylan Gladhorn, who I've known, believe it or not, since high school. He is absolutely incredible, and he's composed the music for everything that I've done in terms of, films, features, and shorts. And he's just a prodigy. He's brilliant. I love working with him. I can give him crazy pitches like, we're going to go for this huge Alan Silvestri, epic orchestral score for this crazy sci-fi action movie, and then by the way, we also want to do like a hit pop single to play in the credits. He's never failed me once, and it's just so much fun to work with him. He's brilliant.
How'd you bring on John Hennigan? For everybody who knows him as professional wrestler John Morrison, was he the ideal for a future police officer Johnny Killfire?
Yeah, so the origin of the project had John attached from the beginning. So he was part of the development of it. We were working together on a different script, on a different feature film, actually. Me and my writing partner, Russ Nickel. And we just became friends with John, and we wanted to do something, that was manageable at the time. This was back in 2019. So we had this feature script that we're shopping around and trying to get off the ground. And in the meantime, we said, well, we want to find an excuse to work on something real that we can produce and actually put out there in the world. So we thought, well, we could do a short film. That's pretty manageable. We could try and really narrow our scope. So we developed the idea and kind of brought it to John and said, is this something that you'd be interested in doing and coming on as an actor, but also to produce it with us? Because this was my first foray into big stunt work and VFX, and he has a lot of experience with that. Obviously, the stunt work, but then even VFX with his last feature, Boone the Bounty Hunter. He's got a great team of people that he works with. So we were kind of able to take the people that I work with a lot and the people he works with a lot and come together. So yeah, he was who we wanted from the beginning. And it was pretty funny, actually, because down to the wire, going into the week before the shoot, we weren't totally sure that he was going to be able to do it. He was producing it. He had his hands all over it. But his schedule at that time, wrestling, was kind of chaotic, and he would get a call, drop of the hat, you're on a Friday, we need you tomorrow. So we were really just hoping and praying that his contract, I think at that time was probably WWE, was starting the week after we finished shooting. And thank God it did work out that way. So we were able to get him in there and shoot him out before he started wrestling full time for WWE this was late 2019.
Yes. I also like the references you put in about Doctor Who. You had to have been a Doctor Who fan because the villains were Time Borgs.
That I have to credit to my writing partner. He is a big sci-fi fantasy guy, and he writes in that genre a lot more than I do. So I have to give him credit for the Time Borgs. But yeah, I think that's a little Doctor Who reference for all the nerds out there.
Yeah, I love it. When Johnny Killfire, he goes back to the past. He goes to May 12th, 2020, interrupts his past self's wedding, cock blocks his young self. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah, we thought, what's a really fun, explosive way to get the story going that feels familiar, but also ridiculous at the same time. And I'm with you. I also think it's funny. It cracks me up.
I know. You look at yourself, you don't recognize yourself from the future. It's like, why is this dude ruining my wedding? Why is he telling me I slept with somebody before we got married and I'm going to have a kid?
Yeah, well, when the whole balance of the universe is at stake, what's a wedding? What's a wedding? That's...
I like how he comes back to help his past self, where they have to grab this app where you order a pizza way before it gets delivered, and these time borgs want to take it back to the future, wrap bombs into the pizzas, and send it back to the past.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect crime, really. Yeah, we wanted to think of what was really ridiculous tech that could be developed for good and then stolen and used for evil. And it's like, what if someone developed an algorithm for a pizza delivery service that was so fast that it actually delivered your pizza before you ordered it? And I don't remember who exactly came up with that idea, but the second it came out of someone's mouth, we knew. We were like, okay, that's it. That's the thing. That's going to be the hook for our our sci-fi time travel premise. That's the MacGuffin, as it were.
Yeah, and also, I like how you paired John with Sean Marquette. Those guys had the perfect comedy timing. They were perfect. They played off each other really well. Like, they liked each other, but they hated each other.
I agree that they ended up being perfect. They didn't know each other before this, so it's kind of kismet that it worked out so well. But I can say now that we've shot the film and they've spent a lot of time together, they are friends. They actually get along really well, and that made a big difference. I think the fact that they were able to just hang out and vibe with one another, I think that made the process a lot easier of kind of getting them in the same headspace. And Sean is just so funny, and I think as the kind of character that is reacting to all the ridiculous stuff that John is doing, he's so perfect, and he has that perfect energy, that really sharp, crazy, funny, what the fuck is going on energy that you need for this. You have to be self-aware, and I think he does a good job of being the proxy for the audience to feel like you're in on the joke a little bit.
I think
we're not taking it too seriously,
It's a fun, cheesy sci-fi action film. You just go in it and have fun. Fuck the seriousness. It's just a fun film. And then one of my favorite epic scenes was the bathroom scene, where you see, Sean's character, and then all of a sudden you see a character played Dolph Ziggler, who was his enemy back in the past, going, well, I went back, killed myself, now I'm here. And then all of a sudden, now you see Johnny Killfire, and they get into that great fight, and I just love that stab scene with the blood that splurts everywhere. That was awesome.
I'm glad that you liked that. I'm glad that it worked for you, because that was a really difficult stunt to pull off. It's so funny, throwing people off of staircases and scaffolding and all of the amazing stunts were easy compared to getting the stupid blood rig to work and spray the way we wanted it to do. And it was kind of like a pressurized machine that builds up all this pressure, and then you hit a button and it sprays out, and it wouldn't work. We couldn't get it to work. The timing was never right, and it wasn't spraying enough of the blood, and we were on a pretty tight schedule. So what you see in the movie was just, I think it was John actually right off screen with a red Solo cup full of fake blood, just kind of chucking it at his face. So we tried to do it the fancy way, and when all else fails, you can just throw blood from a Solo cup.
And I love how they finally got the app. They stopped the Borg, and I like how he goes back, and then one of his superior officers, told him, give me the badge and gun. And then his mannerisms in that scene and how he held himself was so priceless, where he just grabbed that fork and just chucked it and just popped her right in the forehead. It kind of reminded me of the Star Wars moment between Han and Greedo.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely a reference that's always back there when you've got that kind of like standoff in a diner type scene. And it's so funny. I just went and saw the movie Renfield the other day, which has a lot of really fun stunts. Have you seen it?
Yes, good film.
There was a fork bit. They used a fork. They were tossing it around. It was like floating in the air and being grabbed and stabbing people. And I was like, man, we were onto something. The zeitgeist is real.
That's awesome. And when Nicolas Cage's mannerisms, man, he had that like real creaky cracking thing, like he was really Dracula.
He killed it. He was so funny and so scary. I really thought that was another fun, like ridiculous action comedy. You know, I didn't know much about the movie going in. I just knew Dracula, comedy, Nicolas Cage. That's all I need to know. But then the stunts were so good and so inventive and unique. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that on this movie and with John, we're always talking about, you know, how can we elevate stunt work? How can we make it fun? How can you tell the story with it? And, you know, like you can imagine someone like John is really nitpicky about stunts. You know, like his bar is really high for himself and for the stuff that he wants to do and put out there in the world. So, you know, that said, working with him on the speed of time and developing what the stunt work was going to look like, what the fights were going to be, was really an amazing experience for me personally. You know, like the scene at the beginning where he falls through the ceiling and crashes through the table. That's just something that like I came up with because I thought it would be funny. I thought it'd be a great way to have him crash from his world into ours. And, you know, didn't really know how we were going to pull it off. But then, you know, taking the words on the page, you know, Johnny Killfire falls through the ceiling and crashes through the kitchen table, and figuring out with John, with Brady, our stunt coordinator, how to actually rig it, how to do it properly, safely, to make it, you know, the funniest looking, the biggest impact. I've just got a whole new respect for stunt work. You know, so when I go and see a movie like Renfield, I feel like I'm getting to appreciate it on a level that I wouldn't have a few years ago.
Yeah, and I love the starting scene where you see John, you know, getting into this like fight scene, and I loved how the cinematography, camera angles are zooming into all the fight choreography. It was perfect with the accurate, you know, stunning, you know, FX effects. So when John did that fight scene, how much preparation did he do to perfect that?
We shot the movie in Florida, believe it or not, but we did a day of rehearsals out in LA in a big like wrestling gym, basically, with a lot of like padded flooring, and we had all the stunt performers and the stunt coordinator show up, and you know, we had a full day. You know, we had several hours to just hang out and work through the scenes and figure out, you know, what we wanted to do. That scene in particular, that opening sequence, we spent the most time on. I think in the script, it's a really quick line about him just, you know, beating up some guys and, you know, going through the portal. But we really wanted to expand it and sink our teeth into it and make it kind of an epic opening scene to really grab your attention. So we kind of did a previs. You know, I had my iPhone, and as we were figuring out things that we liked, I was shooting it, and then, you know, I went off later and cut it together, and we had that as a guide when we were on set. So we got to spend a decent amount of time with the trial and error of seeing what works and what doesn't work. And unfortunately, that sequence was a lot longer in what we had planned, but we were running out of time on the day of the shoot. So we had to find a clever way to kind of compress the action and, you know, focus on just 3 or 4 stunts instead of the 10, I think, that we had ready to go. So, you know, like that's just the reality of indie filmmaking. But, you know, I'm glad that we did do that rehearsal day, because if we didn't and we had tried to do everything there on set, we would have been lucky to just get that first move, which I've been told is called a Canadian destroyer that he opens the movie with. And it looked really dangerous, and I guess it is. So props to him and Charlie for pulling it off.
Yeah, and the ending, that was a twist. You threw a curveball on that. That ending was, I'm like, what? That's how it's going to end?
Which ending? I feel like it ends like 3 or 4 times.
I'm talking about the pillows.
Oh, the pillows.
Yeah, yes, you see yes. Sean, he goes,
very fun.
Yeah, he goes way back to his past self, is going to get ready to kill a pillow. Then all of a sudden you see John comes back, and then he goes, sorry, and then you see the camera zoom on with the pillow, and then just smothers him.
Yeah, I think that was just us having fun with the paradoxes that are inherent in all these sci-fi fantasy movies. We wanted to embrace it and kind of nod to it, but also send it up a little bit, make fun of it, and get just enjoy the genre. We weren't trying to make like a perfectly tight, logical sci-fi film. Like, we wanted to make something that would be really fun to watch, like Back to the Future, where if you think too hard about it, it starts to fall apart. So don't worry about thinking too hard. Just enjoy the ride.
And then the ending at the beach, where you see John with his bleached blonde hair and his chiseled buff body, just enjoying himself. And then all of a sudden he bumps into his past girlfriend. The one he ruined the wedding.
And that actress, that's my wife, believe it or not. That's
really?
My wife. Yeah. That's actually, my wife is how I know Sean Marquette. So they play opposite one another on the Goldbergs on ABC. So I've known Sean for years and years, and it was fun to give her a cameo in the film.
You can tell she had fun being in that scene with John. She's probably like, oh my.
It was funny. She was so down for it. John was the one that was nervous about it. It was adorable. John was like, you just want me to kiss your wife? I'm like, yeah, dude, it's fine. She's an actor. This is how it goes. And it was really funny to see how uncomfortable John was with that final scene. And we were really on a tight schedule for that because of the sunset. We really wanted to get the sunset in the background, and I'm sure you've seen a sunset before.
Yeah,
they happen like that. So we're kind of racing to get ready in the 30 minutes beforehand and rehearsing, and then I think we got maybe 2 or 3 takes, just running them back to back to back really quick. So there wasn't a whole lot of time to perfect that moment, and it was pretty funny to see John squirm a little bit, but he did it. He pulled it off, and you know what? In hindsight, it's funny because they kissed in one of the shots, but we didn't end up using that.
Okay,
I think we just did a dip or something.
Yeah.
And so I put him through all of that, and then he didn't, and it didn't make it on screen anyway. So there you go.
Well, that's something I didn't know. Thanks for, sharing that, So I love how, there's certain scenes you do, but you don't decide to do it. And then you find out through commentaries. I kind of like that. That kind of surprises you a little bit too. So
yeah. I mean, it's funny that, we've already spent more time talking about this short film than it takes to watch the short film. So, we really try and pack a lot into it. And, I mean, we really just wanted to make something for us, that was fun for us to do something together. We had been working together in theoretical senses, just writing together for years. And then it gets to the point where you're like, I'm chomping at the bit. I want to throw John through a portal, I want to have him fall through a table, and I want to make use of this extremely talented, funny, smart, clever person. And yeah, I'm really glad that we made that movie, and I'm glad that we did it when we did it, because months later, just a few months later, the pandemic hit, and it became really hard to make this like small scale indie film production happen for a while, you know, in the pandemic. Even now, I feel like it's come back, but the world is a much different place, and I don't know if we would have been able to just fly the cast and crew to Florida and shoot with all this stunt work. And you know, film sets move a lot slower now than they used to, with all the protocols and the masking and, you know, the testing, and you know, it's a different world out there. But I'm glad we snuck this one in right under the wire. And honestly, it was nice to have something to release that first year of the pandemic, you know, to have shot something at the end of 2019 that we were excited about. So it wasn't like we were just going into this pandemic with all these hopes and dreams, and then everything got shut down. So, you know, I think the universe smiled upon us, and things worked out the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah, let's talk about the guns. How'd you guys make the guns? And then also John's, you know, future police officer outfit.
Sure. So that, all of the prop, like armor and the weapons were designed and actually fabricated by Jim Logan, who was on the art department, and he was actually one of the stunt performers as well. And he's out here in LA and does a lot of stunt work, and he does some wrestling as well. So he has these incredible prop guns that he can customize and, you know, paint whatever color we want. And the armor looks so good, but it's also, you know, it's a thin, lightweight rubber. So it's a lot easier for the guys to wear and maneuver in. And that was, you know, a big part of it. You know, that we did several fittings with John to make sure that he could do all of the stunts that he wanted to do while wearing all of that armor. And, you know, Jim really knocked it out of the park with all of the look and the design of all that stuff. Yeah.
So do you still have his badge?
I don't. Someone does. John might have it. John might have the Killfire badge. Yeah, I'm sure someone nabbed that from set. It's a cool piece.
It is.
And I think there were two of them, actually. I think we had two. There was a backup.
Man, if I was on that set after it was over, I would have snagged one of those badges myself. And then I would have been walking, and then I'd be taking a picture going, I'm the real Killfire.
And who's to say that you're not? Who's to say you're not the real Killfire?
Who knows? You know, who knows? Who knows? A portal may open, and your future self may be coming out, and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
You gotta watch your six. Always, you always gotta watch your six. You never know. You never know if your future self's gonna come back and try and stop your wedding to save the world.
Yeah, and I love how you filmed it too, and I love the editing. You did a good job on the editing too. When I watched the film, it reminded me of one of those 80s films you would pick up from a mom and pop video store, not Blockbuster, but one of those mom and pops, where it has like the good artwork on the box, and you watch it, and it's like fun and cheesy. It's like, you know, this was an all right film.
I'm glad. That is exactly what we were going for. That throwback, like B-movie vibe. Not quite to the extreme of something like Kung Fury, which I love, and it's like so visually incredible. And you know, we wanted to kind of ride that line just a little and make sure it was still cinematic in a modern way, but had a lot of the feeling of those older, you know, like kind of grittier, like, you know, B movies, the fun stuff from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about maybe doing a feature film with another adventure of Johnny Killfire?
We have, yeah. So, you know, the concept for the short film was actually to cram the plot of a feature film into 10 minutes. And I always say we failed because it's 12 minutes long, but like that was the idea. So when we were trying to think about what we would do to expand it and make it a feature film, we thought it would be incredible to take a trilogy of features and cram them into one 90-minute movie. So if we do get to explore anymore with Johnny Kill Fire. I think a feature film that was actually the same kind of pace. I think that part of the flavor of the movie is that rapid fire pace where you don't linger on anything too long, and you're always moving forward from one set piece to the next. So I think if we took 3 movies worth of material and really tried to cram it in, that would be the approach for a Johnny Kill Fire. I also thought, as a kind of a funny bit, but maybe could work in some way, if there was an ending that revealed that he went back and stopped the wrong wedding and it wasn't even him to begin with.
That would have been priceless, and then it'd be like, who the heck is this dude wearing this weird outfit ruining a good wedding?
Yeah, so I think that could be that if we do a feature version, that could be an element as well that gives you some more story where he's done all of this and none of it mattered because it was the wrong wedding to begin with.
So, I mean, I think it'd be like, really cool, to, do something like that. Hey, I'm all for it. The Speed of Time, that's only streaming. Did you ever do physical media copies of that film?
We haven't done a physical release of it. I think that would be an interesting thing to do. It's funny just because it's a short film, so doing like a limited Blu-ray release would be cool, but it's 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
I feel like it could be like you maybe want to pair it with something. Maybe if he ever does another like anniversary release of Boone the Bounty Hunter, we can put Speed of Time on there as a bonus short or something. That
would be fun. And right before I got on with you, I just got done watching Boone the Bounty Hunter.
Oh, nice.
And
welcome to the club.
Yeah, and I loved how he worked on the film with Lorenzo Lamas, who was also in a Bounty Hunter series, Renegade. I love the reference. Yeah. That must have been fun for him to work with Lorenzo Lamas, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, and I honestly can say that everyone who works with John says the same thing, that he is just so incredible to work with. He has such a great sense of humor about everything, and he's so smart and clever. So, you're not just getting, the surface level, like action god, persona. Like, he is such a genuine guy who is so funny to goof around with. And I mean, the fact that we pitched him this ridiculous idea about this pizza app that gets commandeered by Timeworks, and we have to go back in time. Like, we were barely through the first sentence of the pitch, and he was like, "I'm in." Like, this is great. So, I'm really fortunate to call him a friend, and I can't wait to work on, the next thing with him. We've got some cool stuff cooking, and now that, things are kind of back up and running as far as film production goes, it's going to be fun to see what we're able to figure out. The hard thing, honestly, is he's so busy. This dude is he is taking people to Slam Town left and right every day in different countries, and it is it's hard to squeeze in the time, but we're going to make it happen. We've got some more fun stuff in the pipeline.
All right, thank you so much for coming on, and of course, everybody check out The Speed of Time on YouTube. You won't regret it. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for watching the movie.
Yeah.